The diplomatic station floated in the darkness of space like a giant silver flower. It was called Harmony Prime, and it was the most important place in the known galaxy. Here, 1,000 different species came together to talk, to trade, and to keep the peace. For 12,000 years, the Galactic Council had maintained order. They were proud of this, very proud. Captain Una Park stood at the viewport of her ship, the Sol Dawn, and watched the station grow larger. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and steady hands. Today was the most important day of her career. Today, humanity would finally be allowed to join the Galactic Council. "We are cleared for docking," said Lieutenant Jinho Kang from his station. He was a young man with a calm face and quick reflexes. He had served under Una for 3 years, and she trusted him completely. "Good," Una said. "Tell the crew to prepare. We need to make a good impression." Behind her, Commander Hana Cho laughed softly. She was the ship's medical officer, a kind woman with gentle hands and a warm smile. "I think the aliens are more nervous about meeting us than we are about meeting them." This was probably true. Humanity had been watched by the galaxy for 10 years. The aliens had studied Earth from far away. They had seen the wars, the disasters, the struggles, but they had also seen the art, the music, the kindness. In the end, they had decided that humans were strange, but not dangerous. They had invited them to join the council. What the aliens did not fully understand was Earth itself. They knew it was a harsh world. They knew it had storms and earthquakes and volcanoes. But they did not truly understand what it meant to evolve on such a planet. They would learn. The air lock opened with a soft hiss, and the human delegation stepped onto the station for the first time. Una led the way, followed by Jinho, Hana, and 20 other crew members. They wore their best uniforms. They walked with pride. A group of aliens waited to greet them. Una had studied their files, but seeing them in person was different. Counselor Velthari was tall and thin, with a body like a giant insect. He had 6 legs and 2 long antennae that moved constantly. His eyes were large and black and reflected the light like mirrors. Despite his strange appearance, his voice was warm and welcoming. "Captain Park," he said, bowing his head. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome humanity to Harmony Prime." "Thank you, Counselor," Una replied. "We are honored to be here." Beside Velthari stood another alien. This one was very different. Counselor Prin had no solid form. He was a mass of soft, glowing gel that floated inside a special containment suit. He was telepathic, able to read thoughts and emotions. He was also the head of Galactic Security, responsible for keeping the peace on the station. "We sense your excitement," Prin said. His voice came from the speaker on his suit. "And your nervousness. Both are natural. Please, feel at ease. You are among friends." The aliens led the humans through the station. It was beautiful. The walls were made of something that looked like crystal. Plants from 100 different worlds grew in gardens along the corridors. Music played softly from hidden speakers. Everything was designed to be peaceful, calm, and safe. "We are very proud of our station," Velthari explained as they walked. "In 12,000 cycles, no act of violence has ever occurred here. No one has ever struck another being. We are creatures of peace." Jinho listened to this and said nothing, but his hand moved to the carrier he held at his side. Inside the carrier, something moved and made a small sound. Prin noticed. "What do you carry, Lieutenant?" "My companion," Jinho said. He opened the carrier and lifted out a small creature. It had orange fur, 4 legs, and a long tail. Its eyes were green and looked at the aliens with calm curiosity. "His name is Bomi." The aliens stared. They had seen images of Earth animals in their research, but seeing one in person was different. "A cat," Velthari said slowly. "Yes, we have read about these. They are bonded companions? That's right, Jinho said. He scratched Bomi behind the ears, and the cat began to make a strange rumbling sound. What is that noise? Prin asked, alarmed. He's purring, Hana explained. She had her own carrier, and she opened it to reveal a black cat with yellow eyes. It means he is happy. This is Gomi. She sat very still and looked at the aliens. Her eyes did not blink. Her tail moved slowly back and forth. The creatures are watching us, Velthari observed. Cats are curious, Yuna said with a smile. They like to observe new things. The aliens accepted this explanation. After all, many species had companion animals. The council allowed bonded creatures on the station. It was written in their laws. They had expected the humans to bring something. They had not expected these small, furry beings with their strange eyes and silent movements. The human delegation was given quarters in the east wing of the station. The rooms were large and comfortable. The cats were allowed to roam freely within the human area. That evening, a welcome ceremony was held in the Grand Hall. 1,000 aliens gathered to meet the new members of the council. Speeches were made, gifts were exchanged. Yuna spoke about humanity's hope for peace and cooperation. The aliens listened politely, but many of them found their eyes drawn to the small creatures that sat near the human delegation. Bomi had fallen asleep on Jinho's lap. He looked harmless, like a soft toy. Gomi sat on Hana's shoulder, perfectly balanced, perfectly still. She watched the crowd with an intensity that made some aliens uncomfortable. Your companions, Prin said to Yuna during a quiet moment. They are predators, yes? We read that they hunt small animals on your world. They do, Yuna admitted. But they are domesticated. They have lived with humans for thousands of years. They are family to us. Prin considered this. Interesting. On most worlds, predators and prey do not mix. The predators eat, the prey run. This is natural. Humans are different, Yuna said simply. Later that night, after the ceremony ended and the humans returned to their quarters, a small maintenance drone moved through the corridors. It was shaped like a beetle, designed to clean the floors. It was harmless and had done its job for many years without incident. The drone passed by the human quarters. The door was slightly open. The drone continued on its path. Inside the room, Gomi's head turned. Her pupils grew wide and dark. Her body went low to the ground. Her tail stopped moving. She watched the drone disappear around the corner, and she waited. Some instincts could not be domesticated. Some instincts were older than civilization itself. The aliens would learn this soon enough. 3 days passed on Harmony Prime. The humans attended meetings and signed documents. They learned the rules of the council and met representatives from dozens of species. Everything was going well. The aliens were polite. The humans were respectful. It seemed like the beginning of a beautiful friendship. But something was changing. It was small at first. A whisper here. A strange look there. The aliens were beginning to notice things about the human companions. Things that made them uncomfortable. Dr. Teiho Shin was a xenobiologist. His job was to study alien life forms and help humans understand them. But lately, he had noticed that the aliens seemed more interested in studying the cats than the humans. They keep asking me questions, Teiho told Yuna one morning in the mess hall. Strange questions. They want to know why cats move so quietly, why their claws retract, why their eyes change shape in different light. What do you tell them? The truth, Teiho said. I tell them cats evolved as hunters. Their bodies are designed to catch prey. But when I say this, they look at me like I said something horrible. This was the problem. The Galactic Council was made up of peaceful species. Most of them had evolved on gentle worlds with plenty of food and few dangers. They had never needed to hunt. They had never needed to fight. The idea of a creature designed to kill was strange and frightening to them. Ensign Sora Yoon discovered this the hard way. She was a young officer, barely 22 years old, with a bright smile and a love for animals. She had brought her cat, Nobby, with her on the mission. Nobby was a gray tabby with white paws and a playful personality. One afternoon, Sora was playing with Nobby in one of the station's common areas. She had a small toy mouse on a string, and she was dragging it across the floor. Nobby chased it with wild energy, pouncing and batting and biting. Sora did not notice that she had an audience. Counselor Myrith had stopped to watch. Myrith was a bird-like alien with delicate feathers and thin bones. His species had evolved from prey animals. He had large eyes on the sides of his head, designed to watch for danger. And right now, those eyes were fixed on Nobby. The cat caught the toy mouse. She held it down with her paws and bit it. Then she released it and let it run again, only to catch it once more. She repeated this action over and over. Myrith made a sound of distress. Sora looked up and saw him trembling. "Counselor, are you all right?" "The creature," Myrith said, his voice shaking. "It catches the prey, but it does not eat. It releases and catches again. Why? Why does it do this?" Sora looked at Nobby, who was now tossing the toy into the air and catching it with her claws. "It's how cats have fun." "Fun?" Myrith repeated. "This is fun? To practice killing? To torment prey for amusement?" Sora did not know what to say. To her, it was just a cat playing with a toy. She had seen it 1,000 times. But she realized now that to Myrith, it looked like something else entirely. It looked like cruelty. Word spread quickly through the station. The alien scientists began researching Earth's ecosystem with new urgency. What they found disturbed them deeply. Earth was what they called a death world. It was a planet where nearly everything was dangerous. The weather was violent. The ground shook. Fire fell from the sky. And the creatures that lived there were locked in an endless war of survival. Everything on Earth either hunted or was hunted. There was no peace. There was only the constant struggle to live. And the cats? The cats were apex predators in small bodies. They had evolved to kill with perfect efficiency. Silent movement. Retractable claws that stayed sharp. Eyes that could see in the darkness. Ears that could hear the smallest sound. Reflexes faster than thought. Everything about them was designed for one purpose: to catch and kill prey. Counselor Prin was particularly troubled. As a telepath, he could sense the emotions and surface thoughts of other beings. He had sensed the humans and found them complicated, but understandable. They had violence in them, yes, but also love and hope and kindness. But the cats were different. One evening, Prin encountered Gomi in a corridor. The black cat was sitting alone, perfectly still, watching a group of small cleaning drones work. Prin stopped, and against his better judgment, reached out with his mind to touch the cat's thoughts. What he found made him scream. The other aliens came running. They found Prin pressed against the wall, his gelatinous body pulsing with fear. Gomi was still sitting in the same spot, looking at him with calm yellow eyes. "What happened?" Velthari demanded. "I touched its mind," Prin gasped. "I saw what it thinks, what it dreams." "What did you see?" Prin was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. "Patience, ancient patience, and joy. It feels joy when it hunts. The waiting is pleasure. The catching is pleasure. The killing is pleasure. It is not cruel. It does not hate its prey. It simply loves the hunt. As naturally as we love peace, it loves death." The aliens looked at Gomi. The cat yawned, showing rows of small, sharp teeth. Then she stood up, stretched her body in a long, slow arc, and walked away without a sound. Captain Yuna was called to an emergency meeting the next morning. The council members were concerned. They asked if the cats were safe. They asked if they should be removed from the station. Yuna assured them there was nothing to worry about. Cats have lived with humans for 10,000 years, she said. They have never hurt us. They are domesticated. They are pets. They are family. The aliens wanted to believe her. They truly did. But they had seen the way the cats moved. They had seen the way they watched. And Counselor Prin had seen what they dreamed. That night, something happened that would change everything. Lieutenant Jinho Kang returned to his quarters after a late meeting. He was tired and looking forward to sleep. He opened the door and called for Bomi. There was no answer. He searched the room. He checked under the bed. He looked in every corner. But Bomi was gone. The ventilation shaft in the ceiling was open. The cover had been pushed aside, just enough for a small body to squeeze through. Oh no! Somewhere in the station, in the darkness of the air ducts, an orange cat was hunting. The Council High Chamber was the heart of Harmony Prime. It was a vast circular room with seats rising in tiers around a central podium. Here, the representatives of 1,000 species gathered to discuss the affairs of the galaxy. Here, laws were made and treaties were signed. For 12,000 years, this chamber had been a place of peace. Nothing bad had ever happened here. Nothing violent. Nothing frightening. That was about to change. Counselor Velthari stood at the central podium, speaking about a trade dispute between two minor planets. It was not an exciting topic. Many of the aliens in the chamber were barely paying attention. Some were reviewing documents. Others were having quiet conversations. A few were nearly asleep. High Chancellor Orvan sat in the highest seat, watching over the proceedings. He was the supreme leader of the Galactic Council, an ancient being who had held his position for over 300 years. His body was like a giant slug, soft and gray and slow-moving. His eyes were small but wise. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had guided the galaxy through countless crises. He was patient and calm and believed deeply in peace. None of them knew that danger was moving through the walls. Bomi had been traveling through the station's ventilation system for hours. The ducts were narrow and dark, but this did not bother him. Cats could see in near total darkness. They could squeeze through spaces that seemed impossibly small. They could move without making a sound. Bomi was not hunting for food. He had been fed well by Jinho. He was hunting because that was what cats did. The movement of the drones, the scurrying of small service robots, the flicker of lights in the walls, all of these triggered something deep inside him, something older than thought, something that could not be trained away. He found an opening and looked down into a large, bright room. He saw many strange creatures. He saw movement. He saw something that looked like prey. Counselor Velthari's antennae were long and thin. They moved constantly, twitching and swaying as he spoke. To Bomi, watching from above, they looked very interesting. They looked like something that should be caught. The cat's body went low. His eyes locked onto the target. His muscles tensed. He waited. In the chamber below, Lieutenant Jinho Kang was searching desperately. He had told Captain Yuna about Bomi's escape, and she had ordered him to find the cat before anything happened. Jinho had been checking every room, every corridor, every possible hiding place. But the station was vast, and Bomi could be anywhere. Jinho reached the doors of the high chamber. Guards stood outside, and they looked at him with confusion. "Lieutenant, is something wrong?" "I need to get inside," Jinho said. "It's urgent." "The council is in session. No interruptions are allowed." "Please," Jinho begged. "This is an emergency." But before the guards could respond, a sound came from inside the chamber. It was a scream, high and sharp and filled with terror. Jinho pushed past the guards and burst through the doors. The scene inside was chaos. Aliens were standing, shouting, pointing at the central podium. Counselor Veltari was on the ground, his thin limbs waving in the air, and standing on his chest, looking very pleased with himself, was an orange cat. Bomi had pounced. The attack had happened in an instant. One moment, Veltari was speaking calmly. The next moment, a ball of fur had dropped from the ceiling, landed on his shoulders, and struck at his moving antenna. The counselor had stumbled backward and fallen. Bomi had ridden him down, claws extended, paws batting at the fascinating twitching things on his head. The scratch was not deep. Veltari was more shocked than hurt. But the damage had been done. A council member had been struck. In 12,000 years, this had never happened. Not once. Not ever. "Bomi!" Jinho shouted. He ran to the podium, grabbed his cat, and pulled him away from the fallen counselor. Bomi meowed in protest. He had been having fun. Guards rushed in from every door. They had weapons drawn. But they did not know what to do. Their training covered many situations: diplomatic incidents, terrorist attacks, natural disasters. But it did not cover this. It did not explain how to respond when a small furry creature attacked a government official. "I'm so sorry," Jinho said, holding Bomi tightly against his chest. "He didn't mean any harm. He was just playing. Please, I'm so sorry." Velthari was helped to his feet by his aides. His antennae had small scratches on them, barely visible. He was trembling, but uninjured. He looked at the cat in Jinho's arms with an expression of complete disbelief. "It struck me," he said softly. "The creature struck me." The chamber fell silent. Everyone was staring at the humans, at the cat, at the tiny drops of blue blood on Velthari's antenna. High Chancellor Orvan raised one of his slow, heavy limbs and spoke. His voice was deep and echoed through the chamber. "In 12,000 cycles of the Galactic Council, no being has ever struck a council member within these walls. We have maintained peace through understanding, through respect, through the shared commitment to harmony. Wars have been fought beyond this station. Species have risen and fallen. Empires have burned. But here, in this place, we have always been safe." The cat was purring in Jinho's arms, completely unaware of the significance of what he had done. "And now," Orvan continued, "a human companion creature has struck Counselor Velthari. This is unprecedented. This is historic. This is—" The chamber waited. Some expected fury. Some expected demands for punishment. Some expected the humans to be expelled immediately. But Orvan did something unexpected. He leaned forward slightly, his small eyes focusing on Bomi with intense curiosity. "This is fascinating," he said. The aliens murmured in confusion. This was not the reaction they had expected. "High Chancellor?" Velthari asked, still touching his scratched antenna. "What do you mean?" "I have lived for 500 cycles," Orvan said slowly. "I have met thousands of species. I have studied the nature of life across the galaxy, and I have never, not once, encountered a species that keeps predators as companions. Creatures that strike, creatures with claws and teeth designed for killing, and the humans do not fear them. They hold them. They sleep beside them. They call them family." He looked at Captain Yuna, who had just arrived at the chamber doors, her face pale with worry. "Captain Park," Orvan said, "I do not wish to punish you for this incident. I wish to understand. Tell me, what else lives on your world? What other creatures have humans befriended?" Yuna swallowed hard. She had expected many reactions: anger, fear, demands for justice. She had not expected curiosity. "High Chancellor," she said carefully, "I think that is a very long conversation." "Good," Orvan replied. I have time, and I suspect the answers will be very educational. In Jinho's arms, Bomi yawned and closed his eyes. His work was done. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. The inquiry chamber was smaller than the high chamber, but it felt more serious. The walls were plain gray. The lights were bright. A single long table stretched across the room, and behind it sat the senior members of the Galactic Council. They looked tired and confused and a little bit afraid. On the other side of the table sat the human delegation. Captain Yuna Park was in the center, her hands folded calmly in front of her. To her left sat Ambassador Wu Jin Im, a silver-haired man who had spent 40 years in diplomatic service. To her right sat Professor Minji Baek, a historian who had been called to the station specifically for this meeting. Behind them sat Jinho, Hana, Taeho, and the other human officers. The cats were not present. They had been confined to quarters, under guard. Many aliens had requested this. They were not comfortable having the creatures nearby anymore. High Chancellor Orvan began the inquiry with a simple question. Professor Baek, please tell us about your world. Help us understand how humans came to be the way they are. Minji stood and walked to a display screen. She had prepared a presentation filled with images and data from Earth's history. She took a deep breath and began. Earth is what your scientists call a death world. It is a planet of extremes. We have temperatures that range from -60 degrees to +50 degrees. We have winds that can tear apart buildings. We have waves of water taller than mountains. The ground shakes and splits open. Mountains explode and cover the land with fire and ash. The planet itself tries to kill us constantly. The aliens listened in uncomfortable silence. Some of them came from peaceful worlds, where the weather was always mild, and the ground never moved. The idea of living on such a violent planet was hard for them to imagine. But the planet is only part of the danger. The real challenge is the life that evolved there. On Earth, almost everything is either a predator or prey, usually both. Creatures hunt and kill each other to survive. This has been happening for billions of years. It created an arms race. Prey evolved to be faster, so predators evolved to be faster too. Prey evolved armor, so predators evolved stronger jaws. Every generation, every species was pushed to become more dangerous, more efficient, more deadly. She showed images on the screen. Lions hunting zebras, sharks attacking seals, eagles diving from the sky to catch fish, snakes swallowing their prey whole. The aliens watched with growing horror. Humans evolved in this environment, Minji said. We were not the strongest or the fastest. We did not have claws or fangs or venom. But we had something else. We had minds that could plan and hands that could build. And we had something that made us truly unique in the galaxy. Counselor Prin asked, "What was that?" Minji smiled slightly. "We made friends." She changed the image to show a human sitting beside a wolf, then a human riding a horse, then a human with a falcon on her arm. Humans did not just survive our death world. We formed alliances with its predators. We took wolves and bred them over thousands of years until they became dogs, loyal companions who would hunt beside us and protect us from danger. We took wild horses and trained them to carry us across great distances. We took hawks and falcons and taught them to catch prey for us. We took cats. She paused and showed an image of an ancient Egyptian painting depicting humans and cats living together. Cats chose us, Minji said. When humans began farming, we stored grain. The grain attracted mice. The mice attracted cats. The cats found that living near humans meant easy food and shelter. And humans found that cats killed the pests that destroyed our food supplies. It was a partnership. But unlike dogs, cats were never fully domesticated. They kept their wild nature, their hunting instincts, their independence. Counselor Myreth raised a trembling feather. You are saying that cats are still predators, still wild, and you let them live in your homes, sleep in your beds? Yes, Minji said simply. But why? Why would you want a predator so close to you? Are you not afraid? Ambassador Wujin spoke up. His voice was calm and warm. Let me answer that. On Earth, we have a saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. But with cats and dogs, it is different. They are not our enemies. They are our partners, our family. He leaned forward. You must understand. Humans evolved surrounded by danger. We are comfortable with it. We do not fear predators the way you do. We respect them. We admire them. And sometimes, we love them. Counselor Prin made a sound of disbelief. I touched the cat's mind. I felt its thoughts. It dreams of killing. It feels joy in the hunt. How can you love something like that? Commander Hana stood up. Her voice was soft, but strong. Because that is not all they feel. Yes, cats hunt. Yes, they have instincts that we cannot remove. But they also purr when we hold them. They sleep at our feet because they trust us. They bring us gifts, sometimes dead animals, which is unpleasant, but they do it because they care about us in their way. They comfort us when we are sad. They keep us warm on cold nights. She looked around the room at the alien faces. You see monsters. We see family. It is simply a matter of perspective. The chamber was quiet for a long moment. Then High Chancellor Orvan spoke. So humans did not conquer their predators. You live alongside creatures that could kill you, and you call them your children. Some humans call their cats their babies, Yuna confirmed. They dress them in clothing. They celebrate their birthdays. They mourn when they die. Orvan made a sound that might have been a laugh. Your species is the strangest we have ever encountered. You come from a world of death, and you respond not with fear, but with affection. You see danger, and you try to pet it. It has worked well for us so far, Yuna said with a small smile. Counselor Veltari touched his scratched antenna. The wounds were already healing, but the memory would last much longer. I admit, he said slowly, when the creature struck me, I was terrified. I thought I was being attacked. But looking back, it was not trying to kill me. It was playing, Jinho said quietly. He was playing with your antenna. They moved like prey to him. He could not help himself. I am truly sorry, Counselor. Veltari was silent for a moment. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed. It was a strange sound, like clicking metal, but it was definitely laughter. I was defeated by a creature's instinct to play, he said. Perhaps I have been too proud. Perhaps we all have. Orvan nodded slowly. This inquiry was meant to decide if humanity should be punished or expelled. But I believe we have learned something far more important. The galaxy is vast, and we thought we understood it. We thought we knew what was dangerous and what was safe. We thought peace meant the absence of predators. He looked at the humans with new respect in his ancient eyes. But you have shown us another way. Peace does not require weakness. Companionship does not require sameness. And sometimes, the most loyal friend is one who could kill you, but chooses not to. He raised his voice. This inquiry is concluded. Humanity will remain members of the Galactic Council. And the cats may stay. In the human quarters, locked safely behind a door, Bomi and Gomi sat together by the window. They did not know that their fate had been decided. They did not know that they had changed the galaxy. They only knew that it was warm by the window, and that their humans would return soon. Gomi yawned. Bomi licked his paw. Outside, the stars burned with ancient fire, and somewhere in the universe, everything had shifted, just a little. 1 year had passed since the day Bomi struck Counselor Velthari. In that time, everything had changed, and nothing had changed at all. The Sol Dawn still orbited Harmony Prime, but it was no longer just a diplomatic vessel. It had become something of a tourist attraction. Aliens from across the galaxy came to visit, not to see the humans, but to see their cats. Admiral Una Park stood on the bridge and watched another shuttle approach. She still found it strange to be called Admiral. The promotion had come 3 months after the incident, along with command of the entire human diplomatic fleet. Some said it was because of her steady leadership during the crisis. Others said the council had promoted her because they wanted to stay on good terms with the species that kept tiny predators as pets. Either way, Una did not complain. "Another group of visitors," said Lieutenant Commander Jinho Kang from his station. He had been promoted too. He was now in charge of the newly created Human-Alien Relations Unit, a fancy title for the team responsible for explaining Earth to confused aliens. "This group is from the Myreth homeworld. They want to see Bomi." Una sighed. "Does anyone ever want to see me?" "You are not as interesting as an apex predator in miniature," Jinho said with a grin. "Their words, not mine." On the table beside Jinho's station, Bomi was sleeping in a patch of sunlight. The cat had become the most famous animal in the galaxy. His image was broadcast on news programs across 1,000 worlds. Documentaries had been made about him. Children on distant planets played with Bomi toys, soft orange figures that vaguely resembled cats. Bomi did not know any of this. He only knew that he got extra treats now, and that many strange creatures wanted to look at him. He did not mind. Looking at strange creatures was one of his favorite activities. The visitors arrived and were led to the observation deck, where Bomi was displayed behind a transparent wall. The bird-like aliens from the Myreth homeworld gathered close, their large eyes wide with fear and fascination. "It is so small," one of them whispered. "It is sleeping," another said. "Is it safe when it sleeps?" A human guide, Ensign Sora Yoon, now a specialist in alien relations, smiled warmly. "Cats sleep about 15 hours a day. They are at their safest when sleeping. And when they are awake?" Sora considered this. "Then they are at their most interesting." As if on cue, Bomi opened his eyes. The aliens gasped and stepped back. The cat yawned, showing his teeth, then stretched his body in a long, slow arc. He stood, walked to the edge of his platform, and sat down facing the visitors. He stared at them. The aliens stared back. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Bomi began to purr. "What is that sound?" a visitor asked nervously. "He likes you," Sora said. "That sound means he is content." The aliens looked at each other with expressions of wonder. One of them, braver than the others, stepped closer to the transparent wall. "It is truly beautiful," she said softly. "Terrifying, but beautiful." This had become the common reaction. The galaxy had learned to appreciate cats the way one appreciates a sunset or a thunderstorm. Something powerful and dangerous and wonderful, all at the same time. But cats were not the only change in the galaxy. Humanity's full membership in the Galactic Council had opened new doors. Trade agreements were signed. Scientific knowledge was exchanged. Human ships traveled to distant stars, and alien vessels visited Earth. A new era of cooperation had begun. But with cooperation came new challenges. On the far edge of the galaxy, there was an empire called the Kef Dominion. The Kef were warriors, large, powerful, and proud. They had stayed out of the Galactic Council for centuries, preferring conquest to diplomacy. Now, they were expanding. They had taken 3 systems in the past year, and they showed no signs of stopping. The Council called an emergency session. Representatives from every member species gathered in the High Chamber to discuss the threat. And for the first time in Council history, the Kef sent an ambassador. His name was Lord Thrag. He was enormous, 3 meters tall, with thick gray skin and 4 muscular arms. When he walked into the chamber, The smaller aliens moved away from him. Thrag stood at the central podium and spoke in a voice like grinding stone. The Keth's dominion does not recognize the authority of this council. We are conquerors. We take what we want. Your systems, your resources, your people, they will all belong to us in time. The chamber erupted in protests, but Thrag ignored them. He turned his gaze toward the human delegation, and his lips curled in disgust. We have heard stories about humans, the strange ones from the death world, the ones who keep predators as pets. He laughed, a harsh and ugly sound. You think this makes you special? You think this makes you strong? The Keth have crushed species far more dangerous than you. Your little animals do not frighten us. Admiral Yuna stood slowly. In her arms, she held Bomi. The cat was awake, his green eyes fixed on the massive alien. Lord Thrag, Yuna said calmly, I think there has been a misunderstanding. Oh? What misunderstanding? You think our cats are weapons. You think we use them to frighten others, but that is not true. She walked toward the podium, each step measured and confident. Our cats are family. We love them. We care for them. We would do anything to protect them. She stopped directly in front of Thrag. She was small compared to him, a fragile human facing a mountain of muscle, but she did not look afraid. The misunderstanding, she continued, is that you think you know what we are capable of. You think a species that cuddles with predators must be soft, weak, foolish. Bomi shifted in her arms and stared up at Thrag with unblinking eyes. But you have it backwards. We are not gentle because we are weak. We are gentle because we are strong enough to be gentle. We have faced death every day of our existence. We have made friends with creatures that could tear us apart. We sleep beside animals that dream of killing, and we love them anyway. She smiled, a cold, confident smile that made even Thrag hesitate. You want to conquer us? You are welcome to try. But know this, we are not afraid of you. We have never been afraid of predators. We invite them into our homes. At that moment something fell from the ceiling. It was black and silent, and it landed on the podium directly in front of Thrag. It was Gomi. The cat hissed, a sound like air escaping from a damaged pipe. Her back arched, her fur stood on end. Her yellow eyes burned with ancient fury. Thrag stumbled backward, nearly falling over his own feet. The mighty Keth warrior, conqueror of worlds, was startled by a creature that weighed less than 5 kilograms. Then, somewhere in the back, an alien began to laugh. Others joined in. Soon the whole chamber was filled with the sound. 1,000 species laughing at the great Lord Thrag. The Keth ambassador's face darkened with humiliation. He looked at Yuna, then at the cats, then at the laughing aliens. Without another word, he turned and stormed out of the chamber. The Keth Dominion never attacked the Galactic Council. Some said they found other targets. Others said they were afraid. The truth was simpler. They had learned what the rest of the galaxy already knew. Humans were strange. Humans were dangerous. And humans had cats. Later that night, Admiral Yuna sat in her quarters with Bomi on her lap and Gomi at her feet. She scratched behind Bomi's ears and listened to him purr. You know, she said softly, you changed the galaxy today. Bomi yawned. I suppose that means nothing to you. Gomi jumped onto the bed and curled up beside her. The two cats settled in, warm and comfortable, completely unaware of their own importance. Outside the viewport, the stars stretched on forever. Somewhere out there, countless species were learning a simple truth that humans had known for 10,000 years. Death was not something to fear. It was something to understand. And sometimes, if you were lucky, it was something that would curl up in your lap and fall asleep. Yuna smiled, closed her eyes, and let the sound of purring carry her into dreams.